Welcome to the Dose of Good podcast, where we celebrate good people and organizations working to make the world a better place. It can be easy to get caught up in the bad things going on in the world and forget about the good happening all around us each and every day. I'm your host, Erin, and I want to share these stories with you and give them the attention they deserve. I hope this podcast educates and inspires you and maybe even motivates you to share a dose of good in your community. Now let's get into today's episode. Welcome to Season 3 of the Dose of Good podcast. I can't believe we are in Season 3, but I'm very excited about it and to share these positive stories with you. And today's episode features Sleep in Heavenly Peace with two of the presidents from different chapters in the state, the Hillsborough, New Hampshire chapter with David Sodders, and Rochester, New Hampshire chapter with Jim Graves. And as always, if you have an organization to recommend, please let me know by sending me an email to doseofgoodpodcast@gmail.com or leave a comment and I will add them to the list. But now, let's get into learning more about Sleep in Heavenly Peace. Joining me today is David Sodders, president of the Hillsborough, New Hampshire chapter of Sleep in Heavenly Peace, as well as Jim Graves, president of the Rochester, New Hampshire chapter. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
What is the mission of Sleep in Heavenly Peace?
I'll kick it off. I guess the mission of Sleep in Heavenly Peace is to try and address the issue of bedlessness across the United States. Well, in fact, it's gone beyond the United States, North America, and will continue to spread. 2 to 3% of the kids in the United States between the ages of 3 and 17 don't have beds for various reasons. Mm-hmm. And so it's our job to try and do something about that by providing beds for them. Mm-hmm. We do so by raising funds and making beds and delivering beds to these kids. It's too bad that there's a need for a charity like Sleep in Heavenly Peace, but there's a need, and so we're just trying to fulfill that need.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm glad we could highlight Sleep in Heavenly Peace, because I don't think that's maybe something people are aware of the fact or think about, in their day-to-day, that there are kids without beds and there are kids that need beds to sleep in, so...
It's kind of sad, and you realize too that, because I've been doing this since 2019, and there's poverty out there, but you don't see it.
Right.
And then now Jim and I have gotten involved in helping these families doing this, but what you begin to realize that the beds aren't the most important thing. A lot of these families didn't have food and didn't have shelter.
Yeah.
So once they've secured shelter and they've secured food for the family, that's when organizations like ours can then help fulfill the other needs of the families. And our particular focus is on the beds.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And how did each of you get involved with Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and what do your roles kind of entail?
I got involved in 2021. My wife and I had just sold our printing business, and we were looking to give back and volunteer. And we watched an episode of a show on Facebook Watch. It was called Returning the Favor with Mike Rowe, the Dirty Jobs guy. Mm-hmm. And Mike Rowe went around the country rewarding people for doing good things. And he did this one episode on Luke, our founder from Idaho. And we watched that episode, and it was all about how Luke got started building beds in his garage. And we said, hey, we can probably do that. And at the time, there was only one other chapter in New Hampshire, and that was Dave's. And so I went out to one of Dave's build days just to see what it was all about. And after that, we just decided to go for it.
Great.
And do it, yeah.
Yeah.
And mine is almost a mirror image, Jim, of yours. I had retired from the aerospace business in 2016 and was trying to look for some mission, some purpose in life, and I ran into CNN Heroes. At the end of every year, highlight a group of people at the end of the year across the country who are doing good things for others. And that's how I found out about Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and I went on to research that a bit more and found the same episode of Return the Favor that you did. And I watched this guy and his small family in a cinder block building with no toilet, and the kids sleeping on a pile of slats, and they're making beds for kids. And Mike, what he did in the show was before he arrived, he had worked out something where this group of landowners in Twin Falls, Idaho, had granted, I think it was 3 to 4 years free use of a beautiful warehouse.
Oh, wow.
And they took all the tools over there and they surprised Luke with here, we're going to show you your new place. And so anyway, and he went on a delivery, Mike Rowe went on a delivery with them. And I watched all that. I was like, man, I could do this. Yeah. So that's what got me going. It was very moving.
Yeah, and that's kind of what got SHP going, Sleep in Heavenly Peace, going, is that episode that Mike Rowe did. I think that was in 2017, roughly.
Yeah.
And that's when SHP really took off and, chapters started forming, quite a bit.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, the story behind it is kind of interesting, too, where Luke Mickelson, the founder, was a water treatment plant engineer in Twin Falls, Idaho. And but he was a woodworker as well as a hobby. And the way he relates the story is Christmas was coming, and his kids were going, we're not going to get a whole lot for Christmas, that kind of thing. And a woman, I believe from his church, approached him and said, hey, I know this young woman, and she's got 2 or 3 kids, and they don't have beds, and they finally have secured a place to live. Mm-hmm. But they have no furniture, and the kids don't have any beds. So Luke decided, well, you know what, kids, let's build them beds. So into the garage they went, and they built a bunk bed for this family and delivered it. And then he happened to post this information on the social media of the time, and back in 2012. Mm-hmm. And by the end of the week, he had over 60 requests for beds.
Oh, wow.
This was what made him realize, what? There's a need for this?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the inflection point that made him realize there's something I can do to help these families in need. And that's what started, I think, SHP. But it was the Mike Rowe video 6 years later that really launched it. I think when that happened, there were only 12 chapters, and we're approaching 300, almost 400 chapters today.
Over
That's
350.
awesome.
Yeah, so it's pretty amazing.
That's great. Yeah. Yeah, because people have to find their local chapter if they're looking to get a bed or anything like that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
All right. So when it comes to the beds themselves, how do they get made when people request them?
We have build days throughout the year. I usually have like 5 or 6. Dave has a few more than that.
Yeah, we do.
I think.
The most is 12 in 1 year.
Yeah, and we get volunteers come out. We try to get, as many as we can. But a good number for us is around 50 volunteers that come out for, 2 to 3 hours, usually on a Saturday morning. And we have different stations that these volunteers work. We have cutting, sanding, drilling, branding, assembly, and so it takes a couple hours to set up, a couple hours to build 20 to 30 beds, and a couple hours to clean up and bring the beds to a storage unit. But yeah, that's what we do, and they're sponsored usually by businesses. We'll sponsor a build day, or quite a few churches sponsor build days as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that helps to get the supplies and all of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Before the build, as you lead up to the build, you've got to figure out, if we're building 20 bunks, we got to go buy all the lumber if it's not donated. We show up on site, and it might be on a golf course or in a parking lot or in a gymnasium. If it's in a gymnasium, we have to put plastic down on the floor to protect the surface of the floor.
Yeah.
You've got to bring all the lumber in. We have trucks and trailers where we have all of our tooling. So we essentially set up a production line. So one end of the production line is our stacks of lumber. And down that line, as Jim was saying, between the cutting and the sanding and this drilling, and one end is lumber and the other end is finished product. And at the very end of the line for the headboards, we brand SHP on the headboards. So there's fire and smoke and danger. And it's just it's
yeah.
great.
Everybody loves that station.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Everybody wants to do branding because it's so much fun.
It is fun. It is
Yeah.
fun. But that's how they get. And then after we're all done, we throw all the tools back into the respective trucks and trailers. We put the headboards and side rails and safety rails in the truck or trailers. And back we go to our respective storage areas.
Okay.
Our chapter has an old horse barn that we keep all of our bed frames in.
Okay.
And then the cycle repeats.
And so when it comes to those volunteers, do they need building experience? Do they get trained on site? How does that work?
Well, what we do from a process perspective is each of the build stations has what we call a station lead.
Okay.
And that station lead is someone who is familiar with the processes and tools and the safety aspects of that station.
Okay.
And so it's their responsibility to train the volunteers.
Okay.
And do the volunteers need any experience?
Not at all.
That's great.
Okay.
Not at all. The station leads can usually train someone within 5 minutes
Oh, great.
how to run that particular station.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know that that's the way it works, because I pictured, I don't know why, I didn't picture separate stations and then it all coming together. I pictured it being like a group working all on everything. So that sounds much more efficient to kind of do it in stations.
organized.
It is.
Yeah.
It's like a. I'll go back to the aerospace world, kind of a manufacturing production line.
Yeah.
Where and you're pulling materials. I have a piece of finished material here. Let's say it's just been cut. I grab it, put it on this table. This team's sanding it. And it goes to another person who puts holes in the board so they know where to drill, and so on. So it's controlled chaos. Because when you're, because there's dust and it's a very loud environment too, with all the sanding and saws.
It's funny. Our volunteers usually show up around 9:30, but we show up usually around 7 a.m. to set everything up. We have like 30 banquet tables that we have to set up, and so from 7 to 9 or so, it's just chaos. And everything is so unorganized. But when the volunteers show up at 9:30, they're always so impressed at how organized we are and how everything flows. But they don't get to see the chaos.
Right,
leading
that
up
leads
to it.
up.
Yeah.
Well, a good example of that too is where there was a build that we do every year in Derry, and they wanted to do it like an 8 a.m. start. So we got there at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my gosh.
And it was late October. And the stars were out.
Yeah.
And there were no lights in the parking lot.
Oh, no.
And there was like an eighth of an inch of frost on all the tables that we set up. We set up the tables the night before, but we don't put the expensive tooling out until the
Sure.
day of the build.
Yeah.
So we're out there trying to clear all this stuff off and try to work in the dark. So you learn something every time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a lot of work. And it requires, we typically use like 5, 6, 7 people to set up
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
build before all the volunteers show up.
Okay.
I'll never forget the one build I went to of yours. It was inside in the school, and we happened to trip a breaker.
Oh yeah.
And so there was
Yeah,
a delay in finding a person to find the circuit breaker box to reset the breaker. So all the lights were out, but we carried on with the lights from our cell phones. We did the best we could.
wow.
People holding up
Everybody-
their cell phones, and
Yeah,
we kept
all
going.
the kids were holding up their cell phones and doing the best we could.
Yeah,
Until they
definitely.
reset the breaker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I vividly remember that.
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Well, what's also interesting too is the size of the number of volunteers for these builds can go from a few people to a lot of people.
Okay.
So if you set up your production line, which when we had our first build, I had like 3 or 4 tables and 1 saw and a couple of sanders, and when my neighborhood helped us on our driveway. Since that time, we scaled up to a larger production, so we can knock off 20 bunks in a couple of hours now, which means you have more tools. And the number of the gym, you said around 50. Around 50 is about perfect.
Yeah.
50 people. But every year, for example, at Bishop Girton High School in Nashua, we have 104, 108 kids
Wow.
on the line at one time, and we build like 10 bunks in the morning. Then those kids go do something else in the afternoon, another group of 100 plus kids come on the line. So
that's
we can
great.
keep that's about as much as I think we can get on a line. It's
Right.
about 100 plus,
Right.
under 100, around 100 people.
Yeah.
But we find jobs for all of them. Even small kids can take part. They won't be using the chop saws.
Sure.
Right.
They'll be
Yeah.
carrying lumber and
Yeah.
using a rubber mallet to tap holes in
Yeah.
the. So we can find jobs for most people on the
That's
production
great.
lines.
And great experience for them to get,
It is.
utilizing those things. So,
Yeah.
It's a common comment that a lot of the kids, especially the high school kids, will make is, "I've never used a power tool before."
right.
So it's kind of empowering, I think, for everybody, but especially the kids whether they're boys or girls, on the chop saws, sanding, cutting, assembling.
Yeah.
It just gives them another dimension to their
Right.
world that they didn't have before.
Yeah, that's great.
And that
Yeah.
that goes for deliveries too, because sometimes we let the kids assemble the beds with a drill, a power drill, and kids as young as like 4 or 5, and it really gets them excited
Oh,
about
that's
building their own
good.
bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know you said you sometimes get sponsors to help cover costs, but on average, what does a typical bed, like one bed, cost to put together?
Well, you can give the number. I'll give the
Roughly between $250 to $300
Okay.
for the lumber, because when we deliver a bed, we deliver the frame, we deliver and assemble the frame, brand new mattress, everything's brand new, sheets,
Okay.
comforter, and pillow usually.
Okay.
Yeah, so everything comes to about $250 to $300 per bed.
Yeah, we maintain a list of all the materials that we have, and we update that once in a while with the current costs. And it varies. And what has changed over the years, when we first started pre-pandemic, one of the boards that we use is this 10-foot 2x6 board. And that was around $6.50 a board. During the pandemic, that shot up over $21 a board.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
So the costs during the pandemic were much higher. And so they've come back down a lot. But the real cost, if you're going today and if you have to go and buy a pillow, mattress pad, bed in a bag,
Yeah.
all the lumber, it's hovering right around $200, $225, $250 for just for the materials, because there's no labor cost. We don't get paid. We're all volunteer.
Right.
So the labor is free. But it's hovering about that price. But we do gain the benefit too. We have a lot of wonderful people and organizations who provide in-kind donations of blankets, handmade no-sew blankets and quilts, pillows, mattress pads, you name it, and lumber. So that helps defray some of our
Sure.
overall operating costs. So
Yeah.
the more donations like that we get, the less we have to go out and buy. So because the cost of sponsoring a bunk or a bed for $250 or a bunk for $500 doesn't cover the cost of renting the U-Haul trucks and the rental that you pay for storage space and things like that.
Sure.
So, but we were able to pay for some of that because of what we get for in-kind donations. There's organizations like Project Linus, Monadnock region of Project Linus, so they make no-sew blankets for us. The Sauhegan Valley Quilters Guild, the New Hampshire Modern Quilters Guild. We get
nice.
beautiful quilts from these organizations and blankets that help us
great.
defray those costs.
Yeah, we get a lot of in-kind donations. Annie's Kindness Blankets, I don't know if you've worked with them.
We have,
Yeah.
yes, we have, yeah.
Yeah, they're a group out of Boston, and they donate blankets
Oh,
as well.
nice.
Just individuals. We just get random in the Moose. I think it was the Moose Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, they
Northeast
donated
Moose.
a lot
good.
of blankets and things like that.
I remember
Yeah.
picking those up.
Yeah.
That's great
ton.
to hear.
No, it's
yeah.
great. Because
Yeah.
people want to help out. Many times they don't know how.
Right.
Yeah.
But an organization like this one, where we consume stuff like blankets and sheets and pillows, well, I can provide them some of those. So it's,
Yeah.
I guess we're kind of blessed with having
We are.
a mission that allows people to participate in the form of providing things like
Sure.
pillows and things, or just lending a helping hand.
Yeah.
And
That's
sometimes
great.
when we get short on pillows and comforters and things, we'll create an Amazon wish list, and I'll send it out to all of our followers on Facebook, and And, people love going on to the wish list and just picking out, bed in a bag sets, or sometimes mattresses. We'll even put mattresses on there.
Yeah.
And pillows, things like that.
And where do they come when they ship? Where do they ship to?
Right to my
Yeah.
house.
Oh, jeez.
I'll never forget the first time I did it. I needed bedding, I needed mattresses, pillows. I pretty much needed everything, and I didn't put a limit on how many. And like within a week, I had 40 mattresses in my driveway.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Yeah, where are you going to put all those?
right. Yeah. Luckily, I have a garage that I put them in temporarily before we, brought them to the storage unit. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was a lot. So then I learned to sometimes you have to put a limit.
Yeah, because just thinking even about moving all those mattresses is an
it's a lot.
effort. So, yeah.
That's just one of the jobs.
Right.
Of the 1,000 jobs that a chapter has to undertake to do to
There's a
perform
lot
our
of
mission.
behind the scenes
Sure,
because we got the
things.
same.
Yeah.
Where we have a whole front hallway filled with boxes, and
Right.
my wife Jane can always tell, "Oh, you have a few more things on the wish list."
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yes,
Yep.
we do.
Yeah.
We have a bedroom in our condo that's dedicated. It's full of bedding. We have 2 shelving units, and we finally rented a second storage unit to try to move it out of our bedroom.
Yeah,
Into the storage unit. But
Yeah.
it's just what you do.
Yeah. So if somebody is in need of a bed or wants to apply to get one, what's that process look like?
Well, SHP has done a really good job since they've started instantiating a system to make it easy for people to find a way to request beds, and for us on the chapter side to start chapters and run chapters and communicate with the community. So they find out about who we are, typically through a network. They can either go online and search and find free beds, and they'll find the shpbeds.org website. And on that website, there's a request a bed button, and they push that button, and all they have, it probably takes what, Jim? A few minutes to fill out.
Long. Yeah, no.
We don't
long at
ask
all. Yeah.
any financial information, just maybe a sentence or two about your situation, your name, your contact information, the ages and genders of the kids, and because we use that information when we're putting in packaging the bedding
Okay.
for the family. It's pretty easy to do. So that's the first step in the process. So they request the bed, and it comes. It goes into the SHP system in the sky,
Sure.
and then based upon the zip codes, it filters down to us.
Okay.
And then after that comes to us, what do we do with the request?
We contact the person that requested the beds, and we ask them some vetting questions.
Okay.
But basically, the only criteria is the child has to be between the ages of 3 and 17, and that's about the only. There's no financial criteria at all. Basically, if the family needs a bed, we'll do our best to provide them one or more.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's good to know. You said you have some sponsors. Do you hold any events or fundraisers throughout the year to also help out with those sorts of things? I know those can be a big undertaking in themselves to plan and all of that. So.
Well, when you're first, I guess my experience was when you first start, no one knows about you.
Right.
And so it's more just getting the public awareness out there. In our case, at the town of Amherst that I live in, they have a huge 4th of July thing, and they have a village green. So we set up a booth on the village green, and that brought out the awareness. And what I found is once you get the awareness out there, and we keep posting what we're doing on our respective Facebook pages, people will say, "Hey, could we do a build with our school, or could we do this?" Oh, yeah. So, so because once you've done a build with an organization, they tend to want to do it again.
Okay.
Because I don't know how many regulars you've got. We do 5 or 6 regular.
Yeah, we're up to I think 3 or 4 now.
Just regular. Every year we'll do a build with the Bishop Girton High School, the Derry Rotary Clubs, Manchester Community College. So, so fundraisers have not. My chapter's never had a need to do a fundraising event.
We haven't either.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good then that you don't need.
We
Yeah.
are very blessed.
Yeah,
that
it
way.
was tough first starting out because
yes.
you start out, very slow, but
Sure.
SHP, when we went to training, they assured us, they said, once the ball gets rolling, it'll really get rolling. And, once people find out that you're there, there's definitely a need.
Sure.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that Jim and I both found is it takes more than one person to do this.
Right.
And it takes more than our houses to support the infrastructure to make it happen. So we have, for example, this spring, we have an event coming up where we're going to try, we need human resources
Right.
to help us do what we do. Not so much if we have a delivery coming up or a build day coming up, we blast it out on of all the people who've expressed interest in supporting a build or delivery. We have long email lists. We blast out a call for volunteers, and those always fill up quickly. The issue is having people take the jobs that we do and break that, because I used to spend 60, 70 hours a week doing this, and you realize you're going to get burned out. So you
Right.
need to build a core
Yeah.
team. You break the job into smaller pieces. So part of it is getting human resources to help us execute the mission. It covers a
Sure.
lot of ground.
Yeah.
And we also need space for storage. Space for storing the frames, the beds. We'd love to have, I still don't have since 2019, I'd love to have a corner of someone's manufacturing area that we could just set up our tooling in and have our builds there. Because
Yeah.
having to take all of our tools from point A, set them up at point B, do the
Yeah.
build, get them back to point A again, it's a lot of effort.
It's a lot.
And we're trying to
Yeah.
minimize burning out our volunteers and
Right.
ourselves.
And ourselves.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, some chapters are very lucky, and they have had indoor spaces donated to them, so they don't have to do remote builds, 5 or 6 or 10 a year.
Yeah.
It's much easier if you have an indoor space.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, roughly 2,000 to 2,500 square feet minimum is what we need usually.
Yeah.
But we've been looking for an indoor space for close to 5 years now, and we just haven't
Yeah.
had the luck of finding one yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know, would a CTE program at a high school, would their area work for
Well, it
you?
all depends on how
or-
much space they have kind of free.
Okay.
If any of your listeners out there happen to know, 'cause
Yes.
Jim's in the Rochester area,
Yeah.
we're in the Nashville, Manchester area.
Okay.
But yeah, 2,500 square feet would be about perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
So you can have a big warehouse or distribution center. We just need a corner of that.
Okay.
But it's important to have that, because otherwise it's just, again, the space needs for building and for bedding are critical to our operation. We were blessed. There was a company in Amherst who they Koha Health wrote software for doctors' back offices, and just before COVID, they leased a 3,500 square foot area in an office building in Merrimack. And then COVID hit and they couldn't use it. And I'd put out a call for help trying to find, and we are still in that. We've got 3,500 square feet for all of our bedding. It's a second floor office building, but you can't build beds in there. You can't take lumber up.
Right.
So, I will say yesterday I was down and I met with a Kent County, Delaware organization. They're starting a new chapter. And she already has a space that was donated.
Wow.
Someone there in the
Yeah.
area said, here you can have 2,500 square feet.
Yeah.
So it's out there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's just a matter
Yes,
of finding it.
hopefully.
Burlington, Vermont has a space. as
Yes,
well.
I've been there. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
They've had that for years.
Oh, yeah. Well, hopefully this will help someone out there
Right.
know that you need it, and
Yeah,
you know.
that's super. That's super.
So, yeah, definitely. So, is there anything else you want people to know about Sleep in Heavenly Peace?
Well, I would say that our major national sponsor is Lowe's Corporation, and they've been incredibly good to SHP. It's a great partnership that they have, and they've been very generous donating lumber and tools to us over the years. So, yeah, we definitely want to thank Lowe's for their continued sponsorship.
Oh, well, that's
Yeah.
good to know. Yeah, definitely.
Because when we buy our lumber, if it's not donated, we're always there at Lowe's.
Yeah, we're always at Lowe's
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they're wonderful.
getting the lumber.
good.
Yeah.
I guess the thing I'd like to point out about SHP, which is kind of unique, is the fact that it's a good example of the power of one person. Back when Luke built his first bunk bed, not knowing there was an issue with bedlessness across the country, that's gone from one person taking the initiative to we delivered as a charity 86,000 beds last year.
Wow.
So one person can make a change, and just like Luke did, Jim and I respectively just decided one day, we can do this too.
Yeah.
And so you can make a difference just by taking action. And the benefit from that is, especially with Sleep in Heavenly Peace, is you build a network of people who are like-minded. You run into people who, hey, I want to help you guys. And so you have this wonderful network of people who want to help other people. And Sleep in Heavenly Peace's approach is to get the community involved.
Yeah.
So rather than just giving money to a charity, and I hope you do well with those funds,
right.
You can roll up your sleeves and you can help us build beds, and you can help us deliver beds to these families, and gain the benefit of seeing their reaction receiving these beds that we see every time we do a delivery. So it's if you have an inclination to help make a change and help others, just start.
Yeah.
And the rest will happen, and you'll get rewarded for that. It's a very fulfilling thing to do.
Yeah, and I think that's an important part for people to remember is, you're giving a little bit of your time and a little bit of your physical effort, but you get so much back from the reward of seeing this completed bed and, the reactions of those that they're being given to.
It makes it all worth it. Deliveries
are the best, of course. Yeah, seeing the smiles on the kids' faces, and if you haven't done a delivery, we have volunteer sign-ups for people if they want to help us deliver, or help us build. You can just go on each of our Facebook pages, and there's links to volunteer.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's only a few states that do not have a chapter currently. One of them is Maine.
Oh, okay.
And so I've been trying, because I grew up in the Saco. So
okay.
Occasionally I'll throw a Facebook post out there in the Saco group or on my own page, looking for people to start a chapter, because there's definitely a need.
Oh, sure, yeah.
There's a need everywhere, but we definitely need a chapter in Maine.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, it's good to know that it is in most states, but hopefully Maine and maybe some other states can get someone to jump in and start a chapter. So,
because it's fairly easy to do. Like here in New Hampshire, I think the need for beds per capita gets higher the further north you go.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And in our footprints, with respect to the state, are relatively small.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the state geographically is not covered by a chapter. So
that's true.
If there's anyone in your listening audience who might have an interest in starting a chapter or starting what we call a hub, which is nothing more than we can provide you bed frames and bedding, and you guys can just go off and do deliveries in your particular area.
Yeah.
We'd be more than happy to help those individuals and their teams get their chapters launched or their hubs launched.
Yeah.
Because we'd love to have the entire states of Maine and New Hampshire covered with SHP chapters.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, because thinking about that, you cover a good portion of southern New Hampshire, but not the northern part.
Right,
so,
right. So that's our mission. Someday.
Yeah,
that's our mission.
That sounds good. And then I just have a few final questions that I like to ask everybody. The first is, can you share a story maybe that comes to mind of someone whose life was transformed by your work?
I would say first would be us.
Okay.
Our lives have definitely been transformed by this, but of course also the lives of the volunteers that help us. Yeah, but definitely our lives.
Yeah.
Well, from a personal standpoint, I couldn't agree more. I think we've gained a significant amount of benefit just from a fulfillment standpoint and a social networking standpoint with these wonderful people that help us. you touch a lot of people in different ways when you do deliveries. You'll see the kids going, "Oh, I've got a new bed." They're so excited, and we had a group of girls sing to us. They wouldn't let us sleep until they sang to us. It was horrible. It was very touching. But there's also the very sad cases where you have one of the spouses has died due to a drug overdose. The families have finally just gotten out of a shelter. They've been living out of their car, living on the streets with their kids. They're just horrible circumstances that luckily is not, for most of those, is not a lifetime issue. It's just they're transitioning through a rough phase of their life for whatever reason. Probably for me, a good example of changing someone's life, there was a woman in Peterborough whose daughter had died of a drug overdose. And she had lost her husband the year before, and she was kind of settling into I'm moving into a new phase now without my husband. And wonderful lady, but she now has 5 kids, from 3 to 16 years old.
Wow.
And she was, you could tell she was overwhelmed with her world at that time, between the grief and now I've got responsibility for these kids. So we show up. This is back when we first started, and so we delivered beds for all those kids, and just to see the look of relief on her and the hugs we got from her, just you've changed you've given these kids their own secure space now. They have, in this world where their world has been turned upside down, their mother is now gone, to have those kids have their own spot in their grandmother's house is so important to them. So it's and I think there's stories like that with every family we deliver beds to. It impacts them and their kids each a little different way, but it's all positive, I think.
Yeah, we've had parents and grandparents, because a lot of times grandparents will get temporary or permanent custody of their grandchildren, and of course then they need beds for them. And we've had a grandmother that was just in tears thanking us over and over, and of course my wife and myself walked out of that house in tears. And and it wasn't just that one, it's happened quite a few times, but it definitely changes the lives of the children as well, because if they're sleeping with a parent or sleeping on an old frame on the floor or mattress, and there's all sorts of statistics about how it changes a kid's life when they get a good night's sleep. They do better in school, they have a better attitude.
Right.
So it definitely impacts the kids quite a bit.
Yeah.
Even from a self-esteem standpoint.
Yeah.
We had one mother tell us that their kids were afraid to ask anybody to come over to their house to play because they were embarrassed about their situation. They didn't even have a bed.
Yeah.
So it impacts them in a positive way in lots of different ways, which is pretty cool. We had a young girl. She's probably 5 or 6 years old, up in the Lakes region. We delivered to, and she was and we typically like to set it up. Some kids want to help out.
Yeah.
And other ones just I want to wait and see it when it's all done. So she was a wait and see her type.
Okay.
And she came running in, and she was just thrilled and jumping all over the bed. And her mom said, "Well, do you like this? Do you like your new bed?" And she goes, "I like it better than my birthday present." Oh. And her mother goes, because her birthday was like a day or two before, and her mom goes, "You like the bed better than the birthday for your birthday present?" And she goes, "Yeah, that was the second best thing I've ever gotten."
Oh, that's a nice story. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I think it shows the impact of the work that you're doing, and something that people might take for granted of like having a bed, what that means to people, and how it can change their lives for the better and everything. So, and then I like to find out who you would recommend we have on the show next, whether it be a nonprofit or just an individual that does great things for their community, because it helps me to know who to have on in the future, but also just spreads the love and helps me to learn about even more nonprofits.
Sure,
so,
sure.
yeah.
I'm sure you have a list. Yeah, I've got a few. Annie's Kindness Blankets that I mentioned.
Okay.
They're out of Boston.
Okay.
And the Kida Center in Acton, Maine. It's they run a summer camp for children that have been the victim of a suicide in their family.
Okay.
Yeah, and we got a request from them a few years ago for 88 beds.
Wow.
And, at first I didn't know if we could do that. So
Yeah.
I talked to corporate, and they said, if you have the beds, and the kids are between the ages of 3 and 17, they said, yes, you can. So we delivered and assembled.
So it was for the summer camp, or it was for
It was
people that they knew that?
No, it was for the summer camp.
Okay, yeah.
So they were moving to a new location in Acton, Maine, and so we delivered 88 beds, and I think we have like 4 left to assemble. We've been doing it in chunks because it was
It's
a
big
lot.
Yeah,
I can
yeah.
imagine.
But it's an incredible organization that helps kids.
Oh, that's good
Yeah.
to know. Thank you.
And then you mentioned the Linus.
Project Linus, yeah.
Project
Yeah.
Linus, we have a chapter, I think it's called New Hampshire Seacoast Project Linus.
Okay.
And they're a nonprofit as well, and they've been very generous donating blankets to us over the years.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they donate, I think, blankets to organizations like ours, to
Right.
hospitals.
Hospitals, yeah.
Project Linus, because I work with the Monadnock region
Right.
version of that. They're wonderful, wonderful
Yeah.
people. The cool thing about working in this world now, in the charity world, is that you realize there are lots of other organizations out there helping other people, which is great. I had no idea. You've had some on the show, like 100 Women Who Care,
Yes.
Jean Manley.
Yeah.
They're rock stars, Front Door Agency, Waypoint, Families in Transition. There's lots and lots that I've found out about.
Yeah.
The one I'd like to highlight, though, is one that's kind of like us, where they just decided to do something.
Mm-hmm.
There's a church in Amherst, a congregational church in Amherst, and about the same time we got started, in fact, they were there, they found out about Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and they decided they're going to do something similar, but they're going to essentially collect furniture and provide it to families who are transitioning from being on the streets or living in a shelter and who finally have a place to live. It's called the Home Starter Program.
Okay.
And they're essentially, they'll find a family or get a family referred to them who has nothing. In fact, many times when we deliver beds, we walk out the door, the only furniture they have in the house are those beds.
Okay.
Because the family's trying to get my kids, okay, I finally have a roof over my head, my kids need beds, I'll worry about couches and chairs and dining rooms later.
Yeah.
So what they do is they collect furniture, and all of us have furniture that we don't need anymore.
Sure.
They're very, very good about being able to find furniture, and then they will get a group of volunteers together, and they will deliver all that furniture to these families. They're out of the Congregational Church in Amherst. I'll send you a link to them and their point of contact. But they're a wonderful group of people, and they do roughly 100 families a year doing that.
That's awesome.
Bigger scale than
Right.
our beds.
Right.
But they do a lot of wonderful work.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. Well, that's why I like to ask this question, because now I've learned about multiple organizations that I never heard about before and the great work that they're doing. And I'd love to give them a platform as well to share the work that they do. So that's wonderful. And then the final question is, what does kindness mean to you? And can you maybe share an example? I mean, you've already shared a lot of great examples, but if something comes to mind of an example of kindness that you've personally experienced or that you've witnessed happening or something like that.
Besides helping the turtle off the road.
Right?
For me, it was, we did one delivery to a family who lived on the 4th floor of a building right behind the Verizon Center. And they were from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And she had 4 kids, and we delivered the beds, and they had nothing. And absolutely nothing else but the beds. And so I mentioned it to Diane Newman, one of my core team members, and she goes, well, let's do something about that. So she puts out a call for furniture, and we got furniture from everybody.
Wow.
Oh, it was just huge. And so we rented a big 26-foot truck. Catholic Charities. I don't know if you've met with the people from Catholic
I
Charities
haven't,
in
no.
Manchester. Another wonderful organization. Karen Munzel was the person that we worked with in this particular case. But we have, with 12 kids from a local high school who volunteered their time to help out, brought all this furniture up to that 4th floor for this family,
Wow.
and they were just overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing is, it was an act of kindness by everybody,
Yeah.
right? Between Diane taking the opportunity or the time out of her day to collect all this furniture, these kids who volunteered their time to deliver. Kindness to me is when you give some of yourself for someone else. And you see that all the time with all these different organizations we've talked about, with what we do and all of our team members do. And it's kind of cool to see acts of kindness like that all the time.
Yeah.
Now that we're in this world.
Yeah.
Yeah. We see it all the time in our volunteers.
Okay.
At build days, on deliveries. And we've met hundreds of just incredible people over the years, of volunteers. And they don't have to help us.
Right.
They have their own lives, they have their own things to do, but they choose to help us.
Sure.
When we put out a request for a build day for 50 people, 50 people usually show up, and, they don't have to, but they do. And, that to me, we see kindness all the time.
Yeah.
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 Just in our volunteers.
Yeah.
Restores your faith in humanity.
Yeah. Yeah. It does.
Definitely, yeah. Well, because time is such a precious thing, so just the fact of people, like you said, giving their time to help out others is
Right.
such a big thing.
And not expecting anything in
Right.
return.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing all of this great information and these stories, because I think people need to hear these things. They need to hear about the good going on in the world and the kind things that are happening and all the good people that do what you do behind the scenes that doesn't really get talked about much, or doesn't get, people may not know, but now they'll know. So
Yeah,
that's
right.
great. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Erin. It was
Thanks
a
for
pleasure.
having
Thank
us.
you.
You're welcome. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode and learning more about Sleep in Heavenly Peace and the great work that they are doing to provide beds for children who might not otherwise have them. It was wonderful speaking to David and Jim and learning more about the great work that they are doing with their chapters and the impact that they are having on people in the state. I hope that this episode educated and inspired you, and I have some great guests coming up in the next couple of months for you, so stay tuned for that. Remember to subscribe on YouTube, follow on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok so that you can have all the latest information on the podcast. I do hope that the podcast and these stories help you to feel more positive about the world, because I know for myself lately, I've been feeling a little disheartened. I had a little bit more negative outlook about the world and the way things are going. So it definitely helps me to have a more positive outlook and to feel better about just the fact that there are good things going on, and I hope that it does that for you too. So I hope that you have a wonderful day. Go out there and spread kindness, do something good, and I will see you soon with another episode.